our people is in need of this dope shit that we provide. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not religious, believer of the Creator, the Most High. You know what I mean? And I feel like we all are a vessel. We've all been sent here to carry out a mission. And whatever it is you see fit in your dream and your visions at night, nigga, that's the mission you gotta carry out. So I'm just making history. You know what I'm saying?
These kind of relationships that get disturbed when we don't take the time to know what it is to sing, to know how to get close to the mic again, or to get some. Singing doesn't make it happen, or maybe.
Welcome to another episode of Tune the Fork. I have with me content creator, dope interviewer, curator of urban art, life, sports, everything under one, and also creator of Forgotten Kingz 1.0 and 2.0. Sensei Rip. What's up, brother?
What's going on, King?
Good, man.
Sound about right.
Yeah. Did I leave something out?
No, you did a hell of a job, man. Shit, you let me know some shit about myself. You know what I'm
You like, hold on, I didn't know I curated.
You know what I mean? Shit, nah, but it's a pleasure being on the platform. Thank you for having me on.
Man, I'm glad you're here, bro. I learned about you. Let me take a step back. I was always watching your joint, just staying tapped in with what's going on. You know, you look for something, you hear about something that's going on in the community, and then I would just see something and I would click it, and then I would hear that, which is dope, by the way. I got questions about it. But, and then I would see the logo, Forgotten Kingz 2.0 logo, and then I'd be like, oh, okay. And I never saw your face in the stuff that I was looking at. And then I started to interview Deborah Bond. I was preparing for that interview, and I looked at a bunch of interviews. Yours was the one, it was the longest, number one, and it was the most informative, and shouted you out on the joint that I did, man. So thank you for that, bro. I'm glad you put yourself in a position to be seen, to let a brother connect with you.
Nah, real shit. Listen, man, shout out to Deborah for her to come on the platform. You know, been a fan of her for years, you know what I'm saying, growing up listening to her music. So, you know, the part about being in the space of doing interviews that's dope is like you're a fan.
Yeah.
You're invested, you know what I mean, on their journey. So it's different from a person that just has no knowledge of the music, the journey. So when I have certain guests that I'm invested in, grew up listening to, oh yeah, we gonna get down to it because we always formulate these questions when we're listening, when we're consuming what we never know.
Yep. And
to know that with that interview, the air never failed me. You know what I mean? Even when I just followed the music. She's like, oh no, that was exactly what it was. So it was just dope, man. It was dope altogether.
Now that was one of the longest interviews I think I saw you you got on that joint, right?
That's what I mean about when you invested, it just felt like a normal conversation. You know what I mean? And shout out to her for even just having the time to do that and give me the whole spill, because I think even herself, she realized like, okay, we're gonna talk about all this.
You went there.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, all the way through. And so hopefully my full interview of hers is gonna be dropping tomorrow.
Okay.
And I've directed folks to check yours out, and I'm gonna make sure that I put a link to your joint down in the description of that as well, man. Because we didn't really go much into like to the music stuff the way that you did, but like for a fan, bro, they definitely got to tap in if they wanna know more about that.
No, I appreciate that, real.
For sure, man. I reached out to you after that interview and was like, yo. I didn't know you was in Baltimore, bro. I didn't even know you was you. So asked you to come on. You agreed. You here, man. We're doing this content creation stuff, right?
At least that's what they calling it these days, right?
What do you call it something different?
I mean, essentially, I'm doing things that I've always done my whole life. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Whether it's being on the aspect of just digesting content, whether it's the music, you know, we just changing in a different world now. You know what I mean? So.
When did you start posting on YouTube? What year?
I want to say somewhere between 2018, 2019. I mean, I always had a channel, but to be like consistently doing it, somewhere around like 2018, 2019.
And you're from Baltimore.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
so before we get into the YouTube posting and creating content for that, what was like Baltimore life like for Rip growing up, and what were you doing at that time to kind of like prepare you to dovetail into what you're doing now?
To be honest with you, like I was just an observer. I soaked in a lot. You know what I mean? I had younger siblings that came in later, but just growing up in the 90s, you know, before the internet and things going viral, you could just like go outside and you seeing all this shit happening. You know what I mean? Drug deals, you see the fiends, you know what I mean? You exposed to real life at its rawest form. And parents worked a lot, you know what I mean? Until my dad worked a lot to, you know, make sure he took care of everything. So that leaves you in the community exposed to certain things and lifestyles where now you trying to figure it out, you know what I mean, as a young man. But my relationship with hip hop, you know what I'm saying? My father, at a young age, having those shoe boxes of cassette tapes and him being at work and me just being young and curious, looking through these tapes and looking at, you know, the Thriller, the Mike Jackson cassette tape or KRS, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Criminal Minded, you seeing all of this shit at a young age, being impressed by it. You know what I'm saying? Very impressionable about the whole culture and everything about it. So it just became a way of life. And even as I became a young man, you know what I'm saying? The music changed, the culture changed, you know what I mean? Now it's my time playing sports. It's just a way of life. You know, the only thing that changed was the internet.
What sport you play?
Basketball.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to Digital Harbor, class of 09. Shout out to y'all.
What area of Baltimore? I know Baltimore got their areas and they for real about it.
No, South Baltimore.
Okay.
Yeah. So
to do this, you gotta be a hustler, a grinder. Is that something you've always been?
In the sense of just having a work ethic, right?
Yeah.
And understanding that, you know, we had people that come in our life to just let you know, like, listen, it's cool when we're young, you know, what do you want to be? But when you get older and you start to realize, like, you're going to have to work hard to acquire the things that you see that you want in your life. So once I understood that work ethic is required, regardless if you're working a 9 to 5 or you chasing your dreams, you're going to have a crazy work ethic in order to get to that next level. You know what I mean?
What was it about YouTube and the idea of what that offered that made you curious enough to go look a little bit more?
I think it was just a platform, something that was organic enough to where as though, again, we are using these platforms, been using these platforms for the longest. I just found a way to make money from it.
Okay.
Right? Try to turn a negative to a positive. Because again, before you would just work, come home, right? Find content, eat, go to bed, wake up, start your next day. You know what I mean? For me, I'm already in the space of, you know, hip hop content, commentary, interviews, things of that nature. I have the ability to articulate how I see fit, you know what I mean, how I view the world from my perspective. So it was a perfect opportunity to create a platform that is a mere reflection of you and how you see the world. You know what I mean?
What was hard, not hard, but what was it like when you first got started? I mean, I'm 2 years in, and that first year I felt was just a fumble, bro. So, you know, what was it like for you?
I was working 2 jobs, about 2 part-time jobs. So again, it was just me just being curious. You know what I mean? You fail all the time, right? But the lesson that you learn from it. In the beginning, it was a little bumpy along the way, but I didn't really have a lot of expectations. You know what I mean? I didn't go in it like, You know, I'm looking to reap the financial benefits from it and things of that nature. And it was just like my own little Rubik's Cube, if you will. You know what I mean? And just trying to formulate and figure out, because again, you got so many people. Shout out to the many content creators that, you know, laid the foundation. MREC TV, Gully TV. You had so many people in these spaces that look just like us that we watched that made me feel comfortable. So eventually, you say, you know what, I think I can do this. You know what I mean?
Were you nervous when you first started putting yourself out there?
Hell yeah, I'm still in there. Cause you know the world crazy, you know what I mean? You don't know how people gonna perceive you.
Yeah.
Like even now in my city, I got people that kind of, hey, Forgotten Kings, I see you, boy. And you know, coming from where we come from, you don't know what that could be, that type of energy.
Yeah.
So it may be standoffish, but hell yeah, definitely in the beginning.
How'd you come up with the name Forgotten Kings, bro?
Forgotten Kingz TV. And it's funny because I posted a lot of hip hop pictures on my community tab. So shout out to the people that tapped in for that, right? But because a lot of people always ask, like I'll post a picture of Biggie or something. Hey, he not a Forgotten King. Why? What is that, right? Forgotten Kingz TV is basically it's me embodying like all the people that I felt like didn't get their just due, right? The people that came in my life, in my journey, that's no longer here, but they're still here because I'm still here. So it's kind of this platform that I formed back in like 2014. And it was just a platform, like I just wanted to give a voice to the voiceless, you know what I'm saying? To those who never really got to that point. Well, now, you know, I have the platform to do that, you know what I mean? So that's really what Forgotten Kingz TV is all about, you know?
I never would have known that. And I just learned about the community page. What's today, Sunday? Friday, bro. So if you look at my joint, I just posted and I was posting stuff for the Deborah joint. And I was like, oh, now I'm watching the video. They talking about these new features that they just opened up for small pages. And they were like, community page is one of them. And I was like, oh shit, 2 days ago, shout out to community page. But, so you've got 2.0 at the end of your joint. What was 1.0?
1.0 was that period you were talking about, that fumble, that little period you go through, your trial and error.
Yeah.
You know, in the beginning, I was just trying to figure it out. Like I said, man, I had a lot of curiosity, unanswered questions. I wasn't scared to learn it because I've been on YouTube since the beginning, about, right? Since 2005. So you've seen errors, you've seen generations come and go. I didn't think I was the person that would be a typical content creator that you see on YouTube or these platforms today. Like, hi, my name is such and such, and that was not my style, but I'm in the culture enough to know what's going on, right? Essentially how it was back in the day we was growing up. We knew what was going on in the streets, we was tapped in. That's why I said the internet just changed it, right? The internet became essentially what that is, right? But in the beginning, I just figured out, you know, posting content, giving commentary. I was doing a lot of the streams of the verses, like one of the first verses live streams we was watching was the Jeezy versus Gucci. And man, the amount of support, so many people was tuned in to the stream that it just changed like my whole mind. It's just like how effective like technology is, man. Like,
is that when you had a big, cause I was looking at some of your stuff, bro, and you had a spike in 2020, I think, if I was looking, of subscribers?
Man, see, around in that aspect, it was just a lot of content going on at that time.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Diverse content. You had people, Kwame Brown, you had a lot of content that was just viral at the moment. And it just so happens I understood how to post content that people, you know, high demand, that people are looking for. Because essentially all these platforms have an audience, a demographic. You know what I mean? And all of them aren't connected. You know what I mean? Just because it's 100 million that may be active on this app don't mean that the same 100 million or a few million is going to be on YouTube the next day. You know what I mean? So
from a cultural standpoint, because I'm a little bit older. When I look out and see what some of the stuff, what our culture is representing, I'm not always happy about that. And as a younger person who's a little bit more tapped in on more than a peripheral level, like I am, like what am I missing? Am I missing anything? Do you feel the same way? Like, how do you feel the shit is going?
Listen, man, it's no coincidence. You know, it's a clear difference in like the eras in which we grew up in, you know what I mean, versus the world we in today. And I am conflicted at times because I'm in the space of media where we have the ability to put things out there and people don't have the accountability, you know what I mean? You can just put a title up, put a video up just for the money sake, you know what I mean, the virality aspect of it. And it's the same way with hip hop now. You know, you got these labels that spend a lot of money promoting a certain type of artist, right? Because again, hip hop, man, it's so many forms, you know? And I kind of feel bad for some of the youngest because they might not be exposed to that great hip hop shit that we grew up to, that we was exposed to.
That's on their parents though.
Hey, but even then, when your parents at work, you know what I mean, you look at society. You know, I'm one of the people that, we have a responsibility to society, but shit, so does society to its people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you look out into the world today and you see the schools going through what they going through, what message does that send to the world? You know what I mean? When you got athletes making hundreds of millions of dollars, and it ain't no slight to them. I'm just using that as an example. But all the essential people that, you know, are part of, grooming our children for tomorrow, that's a part of the fabric of what we call, you know, life today that we living in, like, they always get, you know what I'm saying, slighted or not their just due.
But the beautiful part about your growing up, though, is, and you said it in your joint, your daddy had a shoebox. In that motherfucker, it was KRS. It was the parents were consuming the content that put you in close proximity to even touch it. I think when what really came into place that changed the game for me, I think, was like these personal listening devices, bro. Because like when we was growing up, when you were in the car, you didn't have headphones. You had to listen to what your mother was listening to. If it was a radio in the house, it was just one, and that motherfucker was in the living room. And you know, when you played music while you cleaned up in the morning, my mama threw on Anita Baker. She would do all of that kind of stuff. That's just what you had to listen to. And then after a while, you'd be like, damn, I like this. My mother used to play Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers, bro. I rock with them to this day. They got bangers. But I had to listen. I had to listen to them. But now, you know, when iPods came out, kid get in the car, the parent could be playing good music, but the kid got their headphones on, living in their own world, digesting their own version of it, and are completely disconnected. And I think the iPod or the fucking personal listening shit is what really, I think, contributed to changing it, because now, like when I have a godson, I'm like, nope, you're going to listen to what I'm listening to, and I'm going to listen to what you live. We're going to consume together and talk about what it can't be just go put your headphones on. But that's what most motherfuckers is doing nowadays.
That's the world. I mean, even the industry, right? Not selling the records as it once used to. Everything is very stream-based, and I think partly because of how everything is saturated, it's not majority radio or majority, you know, we got so many different outlets and avenues now that there's so many different cult followings that exist. You know what I mean? People out here that's viral, you know, all the fly shit that we call them today, you wouldn't even know. You know what I mean? So it's just a testament to the new world that we in today, man. That's all.
You got 174,000 subscribers on YouTube?
We pushing, man. We almost at 75. We pushing, man. Yes, sir. 175, man.
What's that road been like, bro? I think I'm sitting at around 335.
It's a curse, man. Because once you get that first plaque, it's like, what do? You're never satisfied with silver, you know? You want to do it, you want to do it right.
Yeah.
But also realizing that, you know, that isn't just the scale of my own like validation. It's good to know that in this space, people recognize the hard work, you know what I mean, no matter where you are. But, you know, the shit is bigger than the platform in itself and how I see my vision in the next 5, 10 years, you know.
What's your why in it, bro?
The why? It feel like one of the last of the Mohicans. You know, people call this shit like the end of the, you know, days, the last times. You know what I mean? I'm always critical of shit we see in the culture, to the point where it's motherfuckers like, all right, Sharif, we don't want to hear that shit. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Dope reference, by the way.
but that's how it feels. You know what I mean? It could be motherfuckers in your family. You know, oh, here you go with that bush. And it's like, yo, we need more of that.
Yeah.
We don't have enough of it. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers get participation awards and all this shit. But bro, this is life. The fact that we here having this conversation is a blessing.
Yeah.
The fact that you have a platform like this dope, it's a blessing. You know what I mean? This shit, this world that we live in, man, it's like people make it complicated. But for the most part, man, my why is the fact that our people is in need of this dope shit that we provide. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a not religious believer of the Creator, the Most High. You know what I mean? And I feel like we all are a vessel. We've all been sent here to carry out a mission. And whatever it is you see fit in your dream and your visions at night, nigga, that's the mission you gotta carry out. So I'm just making history. You know what I'm saying?
I like that.
That's my why.
To make history.
We here temporarily, you know what I mean? And depending on what you do in your life, it's gonna be talked about forever.
You, I watched your Godfrey interview, and you had a snippet in the beginning of the Godfrey interview where you were talking about, and I'm gonna paraphrase, bro, so forgive me, how you were going through some stuff and you were like, you felt like people were asking where you had been and that you were just really working on the back ends of trying to, you know, get stuff going. What I interpreted that part of the video as is, man, look, it's fucking life, bro. Like, it's just all this shit here, what I'm doing on there's a lot of stuff on the back end that I gotta tweak and turn to make it so that I can even show up enthused or, you know, just want to turn on the camera or what the fuck ever. And it really hit for me because two things. You shared that was a part of where you were at that moment and didn't try to just act like, you know, like you were acknowledging like an elephant in the room, so to speak. And to be like, hey, look, yeah, this is what I'm doing. This is what I've been doing. This is why I've been out. But hey, here's this thing. To have 100, to go on 175,000 subscribers and to be doing this for as long as you have, how are you managing, bro, all of the life shit with the need to still create content? I think people don't understand just what the fuck that means. Like, and the amount of time we spend. If you post something for 6 minutes, bro, it's gotta be hours or something that you probably did just to even be able to post that 6 minutes to some degree.
Yeah.
How are you managing all of that shit, man, to stay so consistent, to keep your shit growing?
Exercise, right? Fucking diets, you know, all the things that is important in order to be able to perform at those levels. Me personally, man, just staying to self, meditating, constantly just trying to work out whatever your version of exercising is, you know what I mean? Taking a break, giving yourself that mental break throughout the day so that way you're more prepared. Because again, you know, you dictate your limits and limitations. So if you know, don't police yourself or, you know what I mean, do things in moderations, you will become consumed. And that's when that depression kicks in and all of those things that you know, affect people. It does become a challenge because I'm just me. You know what I mean? I don't have that team yet, working hard, working with a collective of other great, dope content creators. But in this space, man, it's like a one-man army, King. And that's a great question to ask, you know what I mean? And like I said, it's just that scale, that balance of just making sure everything is on point. You know?
Has there ever been a time in your process where you've had to step back for more time than you would have liked to?
See, that's the thing, you know, in a weird way, we tend to use our work as a way to kind of distract ourselves from what's going on in the real world, right? It could be therapeutic. And at times that's what the platform is to me.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Shit could be a little hard out there in the real world. So I'm gonna just tap in and just focus on the content, focus on the work, what's going on at hand. And that's the beauty of what we talked about off camera, about those dark moments and things like that, and what you create from those moments.
Yeah.
Because you don't necessarily think, you just do.
Yeah.
Right? And then when you have that moment, if you have the ability to look back and say, oh shit, this is what I did.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it turned out. You know what I mean?
So your platform, I feel like, is broken up into a couple of different segments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One is sort of like reaction type stuff to a degree, commentary, and the other is interviews. What do you prefer more?
See, that's the funny thing about it. You know, I didn't want to be boxed into a certain lane or a certain sector because that's just not how my mind works. You know what I mean? I'm just a man that wears many capes, many abilities.
Okay.
You know what I mean, I can conduct interviews, I can do commentary on trending topics. I could be an anchor for news, nightly news. You know what I mean? Like, you know how we do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's either we gonna show up to perform or we gonna figure it out. You know what I mean? And my platform is just a version of just how I see my universe and how I live it. You know what I mean? Eventually, when it gets to the website, you know, I would love to have diverse content. Because, you know, sometimes you get tired of hearing yourself all the damn time. You get tired of hearing yourself talk, so you gotta stay sharp. I mean, you gotta have other great, dope, talented people around you to keep you on your game, you know?
How has it been stretching out, man, and connecting with other people's platforms and shit?
Listen, man, I'm blessed. Like, shout out to Godfrey, shout out to Roy Wood Jr., shout out to Deborah and Slink Johnson, and many people that came on the platform, because to me, it was funny. Like, I had seen Godfrey the first time in the beginning of COVID, because at that time, you couldn't go nowhere.
Yeah.
You're right? You had to have the card. I hadn't had a card. I wasn't doing all that. So at least in these comedy spaces, you ain't need all that. So I would show up. And 8 months later, I'm coming to see Godfrey again. I got my YouTube channel. So before I get in the venue, I had this conversation with myself, like, shit, well, you know, if things go right tonight, who knows? Maybe you can get an interview with him. I didn't go in there expecting that. This is how you know God is real. You know what I'm saying? The shit that you say, you can manifest that shit. Because at the end of the night, it was just me and him. Like, literally. And I'm not expecting Godfrey to be like, you know, let's do the interview or whatever. At first he's like, hey, if you got a crew or whatever, we can do it, come back tomorrow. Then I don't know, he's like, well, fuck it, let's do it right now. Come on, let's do it right now. Man, come on, man. Somebody, that stature, that magnitude, you got a platform on the up and up. You're going to try to create reasons why you can't get there, or you going to get, I just bought my other phone. I said, shit, they got portrait mode. Right? You know what I'm saying? They got portrait, let's get it done. And that whole experience is what exposed me to, like, the reality of, like, yo, you can do whatever you want to do. So because of that, in that lesson, I had already prepped myself to say, you know what, I think I want to start doing interviews and interviewing some of the people that pretty much had an impact on my life growing up. You know what I'm saying? Just, we in that space now. You know what I mean? COVID, a lot of people at home, you know, looking for content to digest. You got Zoom, you got all these platforms now. it's on you. You know what I mean? Like back then, you need a lot of money, a lot of equipment to get shit done. No, it's on you.
A phone and the motherfucking heart to do it. And that was one of the things I liked about it. I was like, hold on. For one, dog, I think it showed that you were at least, you were curious enough about him to have already known enough to have a series of questions even lined up to make a connection. And it just felt real organic. And I was, because when I saw you do it, I was like, would I have done that? I would have been nervous as a motherfucker. I wouldn't have thought about the questions. And it was just like, you just went with it, bro, and you flow with it. And that was the dopest, aside from the interview itself being dope, the fact that it was so impromptu like that was ill as shit.
Listen, I was nervous. You know what I'm saying? My man was in there busting down, eating some
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was.
You know what I mean? But he's such a humble person. Good
Yeah, he
dude,
seemed like a good dude.
Because even after the interview, we kicked it for like another hour, man. We was watching boxing highlights. He loved boxing. He loved Wu-Tang. We were just chopping it up. You know what I mean? Like any man would. But the fact that he gave me the opportunity, you know what I mean? I don't know what it meant to him, but to me, shit, it meant a lot. You know what I mean? The same thing with Roy Wood Jr. You know, I went to the comedy show. A lot of the openers, shout out to Kyrie Creek from Baltimore, you know what I mean, a dope comedian. There's a lot of openers that came there before Roy Wood came out. And I missed my opportunity to connect with Roy, but even though we kind of like spoke passing, it was weird. But after the show, I wound up DMing him on Instagram, and he hit me back. He was like, you know what? I think I can get you about 30 minutes. And it was by far the most professional exchange. Like the next day, the manager hits me up. Hey, he got this, that, the third, the day of the interview, they're calling me. Professor, did he answer? Did he answer? Point is, like, you know, in order for you to accomplish the things you see fit in your life, you're going to have to put in the work. You know what I mean? The universe will do the rest. But you're going to have to deliver your part. You know what I mean? Because most of the time, I would have went in there, enjoyed the show, and went on about my business. You know what I mean? But this time I just acted on it, and it went through. So.
I'm so I'm in sales in like my professional life, like outside of this shit, and so I'm so okay with rejection in that way, like because it's just a part of what I do. But like it's something about like doing this shit. So if I was like, hey man, you want to come on, tune the fork, nigga, I am nervous for a motherfucker to say no about that. I don't know why. I'd rather ask you for $1 million and you say no than to ask you to come on the platform and you say no. So I've been stretching. I've been leaning into the discomfort of asking people to come on more because I do want to start broadening that. Because this is what it is. But have you been nervous to like invite people on? Like what's your relationship like to reaching out to folks?
See, you know, where we come from, we get rejection all the damn time. So I don't really get into that. You know, people done turned down. People done, you know, wanted to charge me for interviews.
No shit.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It comes with the territory. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, of course. Time is money. Certain people, they would. You know what I mean? Depending on who the comedian is or the celeb or the entertainer. That's how it is, an artist. And that's why I said I'm forever grateful for those who did come on the platform because, you know, it was genuine. You know what I mean? They didn't have to do it, and they did it. Even Deborah, you know what I mean? 2 hours, she didn't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's forever grateful for that. You know what I'm saying? But that's the part of the game. You know what I mean? Like, it is a art to it because it's hard when you got technology that's in between. You know what I mean? Like what we doing right now, you can kind of feel the energy and say, okay, this brother genuine, he good. But when that technology is in between y'all, it's hard trying to see if, sometimes it could be the assistant that you're reaching out to. Sometimes it could be somebody from their entourage. You'll never know. You know what I mean? So that's the good thing about being in the field that we in is like we get to see them. We go to the shows, we go to the events. You know what I mean? We have those one-on-one interactions. But if you get into a space where you just constantly like reaching out over line and you might get lost, you might get unread, you know what I mean? One of the situations where just you don't get any response.
You do that shit well, dude, because I don't connect online and you do a really good, especially with that spacing, like the delay and all of that, and talking over people. I've like in my professional life, I struggle with that Zoom shit where people talk over sometimes, but like you, it's a natural thing. I think I see you doing.
See, I had see that was season 2 of Conversations with Rip, right? That's the name of the series. Season 1 was, which is not available right now. Eventually, I'm gonna put them back up. But it was a bunch of people in my life that meant a lot to me. So I had a lot of homies I grew up with. You know what I mean? That's now business owners. I had a teacher on there, Miss Yarborough, Natanya Yarborough. She was my middle school teacher. So I had the ability to interview people to get, get some practice in. They were.
You
like
were
my
Zooming those?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I Zoomed all of those. First season, it was about 10 episodes. You know what I mean? It was just people that meant a lot to me in my life that I felt their story needed to be told and spoke on. So that was really the practice before I got to that next step. But, we still learning. I mean, I ain't a professional yet, so.
What's a day like for you, man?
Get up early, about 7:30, drink my tea, do my workout, get my smoothie, and get to it. What's going on in the world? It's time to tap in and see what I missed, whether it's sports, entertainment, hip-hop,
Do you have a set number of videos that you would like to put out a day, or is your content just based on what's happening in the world?
Yeah, it all depends on what's going on. Sometimes things can be repetitive, saturated. It gets dry. It's just like life. Shit ain't always happening all the time. And I've worked hard to be able to kind of just pace myself. But when you're in those beginning stages, you don't really, you move how you move. There's no set number or set goal you want to reach. You just kind of act on it. You know what I mean?
Okay. Is there a part of what you do that's like the hardest part?
I mean, I guess the commentary aspect, right? Having the ability to articulate in ways that people can enjoy, you know what I mean? And stay tuned in for the most time, you know what I mean? Because it's an art. Anybody can try to come on YouTube and try it, and if it don't feel right, you know what I mean? Certain things, certain people it might not mesh well. You know what I mean? Like I said, me personally, I was able to use some of the skill sets I already had as a youngster to lean on those things, to be able to do an interview with Godfrey and not be able to have any notes or anything of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just those moments when, you know what I mean? When you got to perform. Sometimes we don't really have the explanation as to how. We just been able to do these things for so long,
What's your relationship to the algorithm, man?
Shit, I think we all a slave to the algorithm at this point, huh?
I'm fighting it, and I know I'm gonna lose, but I'm at least fight. But I'm curious to know, because you were talking about SEO and like some of the NCO stuff and all of that. Like, what's your relationship to it?
SEO at this point is a way of life, man. Like I said, a lot of people looking for content, whether they're on these platforms, Instagram, Google, YouTube. It's just a part of everyday life, man. For me, I just had to understand in order to be able to get people to see my content. Because again, there's so many people on the space of YouTube every day that it becomes competitive just getting people to watch it. You know what I mean? So as far as my relationship with it, we good. You know what I'm saying? we good with it when it's because again, it's the internet. We have no control. These are other people's platforms. You know what I mean? And when things go one way, you either conform or, you know what I'm saying, you get left. You know what I'm saying? In the graveyard, as I say, the graveyard,
Do you ever create content that's not like current event type stuff other than like your interviews?
Like I said, it all depends. You know, I've posted content, you know, on neighborhood cleanups, things of that nature. But I'm definitely in the experimental phase of just like a new way to approach maybe a different series on the channel, things of that nature. I have things I'm working on behind the scenes I can't really talk about as much.
Gotcha.
But, you know, YouTube being the vehicle that it is, you know, it can be whatever you want it to be. You know what I mean? Even you and your journey and your story, you know, with this platform, like YouTube is definitely a platform in which it can help you build your dream however you see fit. So it's just sometimes it becomes a conflict because the algorithm, things of that nature might not, you know, lean in your favor. You know what I mean?
And that, of course, makes it harder, but you still got to do the work though.
Yes, sir.
No matter whether you riding it or, you know, trying to create your own.
Yeah.
You got 175,000, I'm gonna say 175. You're gonna have 175 by the time we leave.
Yeah, probably.
I can't even imagine, bro, having 175,000 subscribers now. I can't imagine having 100,000. I don't even know like what that would even look like from an engagement and interaction standpoint with like people, just based on what it is that I'm doing. And in regards to the algorithm, I feel the pull of it. And it's my why that I feel keeps me firm, like in where I am. And the key to the lock for that, for me, I think, is standing firm on that and trying to figure out a way to use it while still being firm. But that drive, that hit, so to speak, is there to be like, oh, let me just try to tap in. But I feel like if I tap in, it's going to diminish my why to a degree, because a large part of my why is how I do this. Because I do feel like there's so much of the other stuff out there that I'm looking to try to create a new batch of stuff, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Oh, I get what you're saying.
And it's funny with the what I really liked about the Roy Ward Jr. interview is he was talking about the young comics coming up and the $25 and people complaining about how we all are asking somebody to come sit down and listen to us talk. Now you got something, you complaining about how somebody else is convincing other people to spend $25 to come make a talk. And I was like, oh shit, that's what this is. It's like how, like at the end of the day, bro, I'm asking somebody to spend not $25, but time and attention to come listen to me talk. And how somebody else does that, judging how they do it, is really not an effective use of energy when you could be using that time to focus on how you get people to come watch your come spend their money to come watch you talk. And I'm so thankful I got a chance to see that, because that's what I was like, oh, okay, that really makes sense. Because that's a part of the algorithm thing to some degree. Maybe not a social media / online version of the algorithm per se, because I think some of the other cats are still doing it in a very specific way. Their how is different than these young cats or younger cats and how they doing it, at least from a profession standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we spoke on it earlier, man. We're just in a different time.
Yeah.
You And when you fail to evolve, you expire. You know what I mean? And honestly, it's up to us individually to make sure that we evolve on a day-to-day in this world. You know what I'm saying? I can't speak for everyone else because you know, excuse me. It's hard to really navigate. You know what I mean? We're just looking at it from our perspective and seeing how we can use our skill sets to, you know, make an impact. But listen, man, just in these past 3 years alone, a lot has changed. So imagine what it's going to be like in the next 10 years. So therefore, you have to formulate a plan and how you're going to evolve within, you know, stay current, stay above float within these next 5 years to 10 years.
Yeah.
So you don't expire out, so you don't just fall in the back. You know, and everyone's vision is different. Everyone's passion, triggers, things of that nature. You know what I mean? That's probably one of the hardest things, being in the space when you start to feel like you're thriving and elevating, is trying to inspire others around you. You know what I mean? That's probably like one of the hardest things because everyone is being pulled by their own visions and what they see fit. You know?
So how do you inspire other people?
I continue to do what, you know, create dope shit. You know what I mean? Because you don't know how people are impacted or affected by your work. You don't know. You just telling me the story about how you viewed the exchange with me and Roy, I would have never knew that, you know what I mean? So just making sure that whatever you're doing, you know, is done with good intent. And knowing that, you know, you're trying to, you know, be timeless, man. Be one of the dopest to ever do it. So
make history.
there you go. You know what I'm saying? You know, fucked around and made history. That's how it be sometimes, you know what I'm saying?
So who's your dopest rapper?
Shit. That's a tough question. There's no number one, but you know, growing up Tupac, obviously.
Okay.
His music spoke to me a lot as a youngin', and I didn't even know why. You know what I mean? He just felt like a relative in the family.
No shit.
That just understood what the fuck was going on in the world. And it just showed me the different ranges of artists, you know what I'm saying? Because it's all about different perspectives. But growing up in the 90s, you already know Pac, Michael Jackson, all your favorite who's. But as you get older, you know, your Elzaz, Fonte, shit. Like it's so many different, shout out to Baltimore, King Los, so many different, you know, MCs out here that's crazy. Domo Genesis, I mean, the list goes on, like the list goes on, you know what I mean? Smino. That's the beauty of the culture today and the internet, that, you know, there's so many talented artists out there, man.
But the fact that you even mentioned them two, Domo and Smino, like that,
I'm an alien, I know.
Them ain't normal names, bro.
Nah, real shit.
In the culture and what, you know, what people say, you know, they locking in to the lulz and not to say that anything's wrong with that. And that's one of the things I think that for you to be as young as you are, bro, and to like Deborah Bond in the way that you did, told me something to me, music, if you tell me what kind of music you like, for the most part, if you tell me what kind of music you like, and you tell me what kind of food you eat, like how you eat your food, or what kind of food you eat, it kind of gives me an idea of just, and not to judge any of it, it's just, oh, okay, there's insight there into that. And I was like, this brother look young, you know, and he ain't no Carlton looking like motherfucker, nothing like that. Like he's a dude. And for him to be tapped into Deborah like that, to know her music, I was like, that's interesting. There's something there with that dude, because that's not her music is normally, I would say typically generally associated with people in like their mid to late 40s, early 50s, motherfuckers who I feel is almost up out of here. But
so you gotta think, we talked about in the interview that neo soul era. You know what I'm saying? Of course my grandmother, she exposed me to a lot of the old shit from back in the day. My father, of course, he's a 70s baby, so you know what I mean? He had a lot of classic shit. So just being exposed to it, you know, Tina Marie, playing Sade and shit like that. You know, as a youngster, like you talked about earlier, just being exposed to it, we enjoying it together.
Yeah.
Jungle Brothers and shit like that. You know, Tribe Called Quest. You know, music, man, just thinking about it, you know. Like, cause my favorite era is like that Brand Nubian, you know what I'm saying? Like that era when it was just like crazy consciousness, Public Enemy.
The African medallions, the red, black, and green joints.
To me, like the way hip hop found a way to make knowledge itself, like cool and in style, and the shit still be hard, production wise, the lyrics was fire.
Yeah.
It was like, yo, hitting on all cylinders.
And it's some of the best production in the history. I mean, that was that golden era, bro, was is hold on, 90s is that golden era, right? Yeah, it's not 2000s.
No.
Yeah, it's the 90s. Okay. Yeah, it was
Get Jiggy era.
they don't make it like that anymore.
It's out here. You just, you know, you have to do your due diligence and find it.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of music today. It finds me. You know what I mean?
It's not elevated. I gotta be real careful when I say that, because I'm starting to notice that I'll take what my negative reaction to something is and then use that to create a feeling like that's the predominant.
Right. I think we all do that.
And I got it. Sometimes I be having to catch myself because I be forgetting that it's the J. Cole's and the Kendricks and the Tyler the Creator and
Big Crits, yeah.
like them motherfuckers. They up there too. They not, but because I got these lulls over here and just add the names and the numbers into their name and all of that, and then I'm like, okay, but nah, it's just as. I gotta remember that.
No, I listen to some of the current artists too. You know what I mean? But again, you know, 32, like I'm not trying to go back. You know, I got siblings and shit like that, little brothers and stuff like that listen to it. And plus, we're part of the culture. You don't want to feel like you on the outside.
Yeah. Because
you don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? But just fortunate enough to be able to expose to the good music and the culture. You know what I mean? Pre-internet on up till now. So I think we kind of blessed compared to some of the younger kids that's just exposed to this.
Yeah.
And TikTok, viral joints. You know what I'm saying? Shit, they on the outside like, damn, what's this? Put me on. Let me see what this is like, because this shit is timeless.
And I be feeling like that is kind of like, I don't want to say I feel like that's the real slave to the algorithm. Like I struggle. And again, this probably goes back to the how thing. I'm just, what's your feelings about making something just, or who gives a shit, right? I guess I'm just talking out loud. So you got the TikTok thing over there, and here's where I'm saying, I was listening to somebody talk, and they're saying that because human attention span is shortening, that it's also changing how people make music. And I don't know if that's a good thing for music. Putting hooks in the beginning, making them 2 minutes long.
It's like a template at this point.
Yeah, and I get, and that's what I mean when I say I struggle with the concept of the algorithm, because if the algorithm is something that you're using to determine how you create, and if everybody is doing that to a degree, what you're creating ultimately changes. And I don't know if I'm willing to let some of that shit go, especially like on the music front sometimes.
Well, you can't forget that everyone that became successful with these platforms had their vision and their brand. You never deviate from that. You know what I mean? And that's just like in life. You know, you remain true to who you are, authentic to your platform and what you represent. But you know what I mean? Shit comes and goes, man. 2-3 years ago, the big dogs that was raking in all the money, owning platforms, whether it was cryptocurrency, whether it was where they at now. You know what I mean? So you can't get too lost, you know, caught up in that and get lost into that, because that kind of, you know, messes with that creativity that keeps you going, that keeps you moving. You know what I mean? Just making sure your platform stays authentic and building that. That's where I would, get more concerned with, because the algorithm is controlled by man. It's not like some mysterious entity or some shit. These are people that dictate how they want it. You know what I'm saying? So you just got to understand it and try to see how it can benefit you and what you got going on, but it doesn't dictate, the type of shit you're going to be creating. It's just going out one way or another. That's the approach you got to have,
Not for me personally, but if it's changing the landscape of like music and how people consume from a larger scale, then that is, and I think I'm speaking more from a commentary standpoint, more so.
Even the artists, the respect that they feel a certain way about it too.
Yeah.
Because they serious about their craft. They serious about their shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to see like some of our most talented people, right? Musicians, artists, creatives, right? Musicians and so many people within that space like get overworked, underpaid, right? I know it gotta do something to the ego of a motherfucker who's been in the industry for 2-3 decades, and here comes some new person. That's where the conflict presents itself, But I don't know, at times I'm with you on the whole, like, because of everything being attached to the TikTok virality and things of that nature, has an effect on the listeners. But are we just going through those experimental phases in hip hop? Because I'm a firm believer that eventually it's going to come back to where it always was.
That's a good point, man.
You know what I mean? Even in the 90s, the golden era, it was a lot of corny shit, commercial shit in the 90s that, it's a part of that phase, man. I think music at this point is went away from lyrics to more so melodies and more so the emotion that's behind the music that you're hearing. Because if we're going off of like content, it's like lyrical content, it's not nothing compared to some of the artists that we like. You know what I mean? That sit back and really dope, pen some of the dopest lyrics that you love to quote. You know what I mean?
You got Forgotten Kingz in your you got Kingz in your name.
Mm-hmm.
You reference King a lot when you interacting.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts, man, about the culture of Black people now? I feel like you real tapped in, and that shit means, not that shit, but it means a lot as it should. But what's your thoughts on where we are, bro, as a people?
I think it's just a shift. Like, I think we're just shifting in a new age, man. A lot of people just trying to figure out what that looks like. We had a lot of gatekeeping, a lot of politics that dictate, who was the successful artist, who wasn't. And as we continue to move forward, man, things are reaching new levels in which we all just trying to evolve with and not be left behind. That's really the challenge on a day to day.
So I was trying to synthesize. Do you feel like we're in a good place or a bad place?
I ain't gonna lie, at times, and what's being perceived on social media platforms and shit like that, I don't like saying it, on a daily. You know what I mean? Monetizing our trauma, our pain. We've become more desensitized to a lot of things, right? Even as men, something is nudity, right? When we were young, fucking woman kiss you on your cheek, shit, you be like, yeah, now that shit is nothing. You see a whole woman butt-ass naked on an app and just scroll right past it. That shit means nothing to you no more. So it's always upset. It's a love-hate kind of thing, you know what I mean? Because even hip-hop in itself, it was always like that. There were times where, you had the Soldier Boy era and things of that nature, but we've moved in a place now where everything is about the algorithm, virality. But it's all about if that's what you look towards in regards to finding the content that's for you. But there's so many different other platforms as far as alternatives and shit.
You think hip hop is helping or hurting us, man, now?
When you say hip hop, you mean like rap or like the hip hop that we grew up on? Because I think it's a difference, you know?
I'm talking about right now, if we were to go and pull the top 10 joints as an example, that's popping. The shit that the little kids are repeating, the images that are little young girls and women are this I don't need a man kind of shit, this a woman can't do nothing for me but suck my dick or whatever the shit is. Like all of that shit and how it's just permeating, I feel like everything all the time. That, and then it's all reflected in hip hop for the most part. With the exception of a couple. Do you think that's helping or hurting?
It's not. I mean, we often highlight only the bad, you know what I mean? Because we're so consumed with it on a regular. Honestly, I feel like it's an attack on the culture, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Because, again, what hip-hop meant for me, it wasn't that energy, it wasn't that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All this shit, knowledge of self, knowing our history, you know what I'm saying? Black empowerment, all of that shit was highlighted and held in such a high regard. This shit now is just like low vibrational, you know, aspirations are very low. And you see it now, people, they rush to look like their favorite entertainer, but they still miserable.
Yeah.
On the inside, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not helping. Hell no. It's just the money, right? Look at how far hip hop has come. Look at how it dictates the world. You know what I mean? It's like we've allowed corporations to kind of dictate the future of a culture that was built, you know, by our people. They just invested in that shit now. So how can we now regain control of how we are dictated, how we're depicted, how we're viewed on these platforms? Because most of them, they're not even like from the culture like how we are and shit. Part of it, live and breathe it on a daily. They just a motherfucker that just so happen to have a platform to make money with it. So, like that's really the key, if you ask me.
So I struggle with the idea that, cause that Roy Wood thing, like man, that shit really hit me. How we asking somebody to spend $25 to see us talk? How Lil Durk, Lil Baby, NBA Youngboy, how they ask for $25 from people to see them talk. Why does that bother me a lot more than how Kendrick asks for $25 from people to see him talk? And I think that when we talk about the black culture and certain motherfuckers who are destructive or not, it's almost, we're so sick, I feel sometimes, man, like as a people and divided, that even raising the question of how just kind of creates this image like, who the fuck are you? Why do you have something to say with how I'm doing what I'm doing? Because there are people who are consuming it. So it's not like I'm forcing anybody else to come do whatever it is that I'm doing. But because our people, I feel, and people in general, I mean, if the world got the cold, bro, we got the flu. So there are layers of being sick, right? So I think everybody motherfucking fucked up for the most part, but we don't even have enough self-awareness to check ourselves. Even when you got a motherfucker who say, hey man, go check your temperature, bro. You might be sick. Fuck that. You can't tell me that I'm sick. Nigga sweating. 102 temperature. But he's like, nah, I want to be sick. And then when someone comes out and talks about wanting to be, we can't regulate ourselves, bro, under normal circumstances. And I don't know how we address that as a people. I just don't, because everybody's trying to get the bag. Everybody's just trying to get their $25 to the best of their ability. I'm gonna use that shit forever. Roy, thank you, sir, for that. But I'm just talking at this point, bro.
You good, King? It's the shit we say to ourselves. You know what I mean? We alone any damn way. When we try to assess what's going on out here in the world, and there's no slight to those artists because, they're just trying to give that best impression of those that when they were a kid, they look like giants, right?
Yeah.
It's just the industry, the politics and all of the things, the agenda that they're constantly carrying out amongst our people. It's kind of like the Truman Show, you know what I mean? It's like we're the America's own fucking reality show, you know what I mean? And every day it's a new damn theme, it's a new storyline or something. And again, like we talked about earlier, like we know that it's not the end all be all, but unfortunately, that's just how we're depicted. You know what I mean? But when we come out and interact and we, link up with like-minded individuals to know like this isn't the end all be all. But I do agree with you when you say just that criticism and being able to assess your loved ones around you and say, bro, you need to get it together. It's a lot of motherfuckers that's rich could use some people in their corner to tell them, hey, bro, slow down. You need to focus on what's important. But like you said, because of the money, the bag, they're going to yes your ass till you in the car. So,
do you think blogs are playing a more prominent role in perpetuating some of this shit, if not more than some of the rappers at times? Because I feel like that's another piece that hasn't necessarily been a part of the sauce in the past.
I think it comes down to the people. Because at the end of the day, people are going to, the content or the platforms, these blog sites, they're going to provide the people what they want. And if I come to you and say, I got 2,500 people that meet up here every day looking for this shit, you're going to step up and provide it. And if you don't, there's going to be a line of other motherfuckers that do the same shit you do. And like I said earlier, the difference is we're from that culture. You know what I'm saying? We take this shit near and dear to our heart. Some of these people looking at it, it's an investment. Financially, that's the impact of what hip hop has created all these years.
But should it matter who's serving the dope? Like if you from our community and you serving, it's still fucking up the community, whether you black or white. Because that's the thing that if you go into the trap house, dog, to get served, right? You still getting served. The dope man can say they want it, but in the society that we live in now, it's like we give people what they want, but what we want, meaning black people, always be some bullshit. But it's a reflection of, I feel like that's what I mean when I say, like, somebody somewhere in the path, all society is a composition of motherfucking people, right? And those people and how those people are going to operate within that society are going to be a reflection of their health, their mental and physical health, right? And we are at a deficit emotionally, mentally, from all of the motherfucking trauma that we've been dealing with. So I get that you go to the house to get served, but for the people, how do we tell that person? How do we tell the dope man? How do we tell all the other motherfuckers, no, you can't do that in our community, but at the same time, recognize that how they asking for $25 is still present in that. You see what I'm saying? How do we do that?
That's why I said it comes down to what we want as a people and getting back to moving as a collective. You know, this individual shit has got us in a situation now where no one wants to see the bigger picture. No one wants to move on the best interests of the people. Everyone is out for self. So even if we do get a room full of people that say, you know what, we not going for this, you're going to have 30 other motherfuckers arguing why we should go for it. You know what I'm saying? Why the trap house should be here. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Sometimes, man, it can be very counterproductive, man. I just try to stay away from that type of energy and align myself with those who have the same mission at hand, because we can't dictate those who come into these spaces and want to create platforms to provide the type of content. We can only look at the audience and say, well, shit, y'all, it's a room for it. You know what I mean? And that's the hard part about it.
I'm going to disagree respectfully.
Okay.
Mainly because this is what Jewish motherfuckers do. Right? Mm-hmm. They get on code when somebody talk about any motherfucking thing that got to do with fucking with the shit that they have deemed valuable and off limits.
We still trying to figure out what that is. We'll continue.
We but that's the point though.
Real shit.
So, and it looks so extreme to, I think, people who don't have that kind of cohesiveness. That when we see it, it appears to be extreme. They not going. The response that you just made and just saying, oh, these people that are just coming, I think even our response to some of the stuff, and I agree, I'm not saying that your response is wrong. I'm just saying our response even to some of this shit is also a reflection of just how fucked up it is. Because when we see other people who are a little less sick, their response to that shit be totally motherfucking different than the way our response is. They got their own shit that they fuck with, but it's a totally different motherfucking way that they move. And at least as it relates to how they let people come in, how their community gets denigrated, what the perception of their value is, and all of that old kind of shit.
I mean, trust and believe, man. It's a lot of, they call it culture vulture. That's been like a popular term now, right? But again, like I said, you got people within the culture that give it away, sell it. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean about what makes it hard. I'm for the people and what's best for our culture. And it's definitely one of the most exploited. Like I said, look at hip hop and how it's created so many opportunities. Even myself, yourself, you know what I mean? Platforms like Forever Grateful.
Yeah.
You know, but everything has pros and cons to it. And we've allowed the industry, corporations, record labels to infiltrate it in a way where it only focuses on the MC and the money that's behind it. Because again, hip hop, there's so many elements, there's so many things that comes with it. And a lot of these kids today that's putting out the music, they just doing what, you know, they think is what the people want. But it's so saturated now that I don't think anybody knows what a hit record is anymore, or, you know, have an understanding of where we're going musically in a direction. Everything is either this or that. You know what I mean? I think that's what make us being exposed to a different time period of music, era, it helps us out a whole lot, because it does nothing, you know what I mean, on a vibrational level. Like it doesn't move you, doesn't inspire you or compel you to feel like you want to some great shit. But when I listen to that timeless music, that good shit, you know, it does way better for the soul than some of the shit we got out now. No value whatsoever. It's microwave, air fry music.
Man, Air fry. And you know, one of the things I appreciate about what you're saying, dude, is that I do firmly believe, because it's just a commentary standpoint, just to what I'm observing and seeing. I'm never gonna let that shit impact me in a way that's gonna affect my why and how I move and, you know, the love I plan to give out into the world. Because that's my thing, bro. Listening and loving. Them is my, whatever the fuck way I can do that. I'm gonna stumble in the process of doing it, but that's my genuine orientation in life now, you know. But when I step back and I look and see some of the shit that's going on, it's just like, man, it gets discouraging at times, at least from a people standpoint. Real motherfucking discouraging.
I mean, how do you feel when you go out into the real world? Do you feel the same? You amongst your people?
Nope.
See what I mean? That's the conflict for me, is like subscribing to that ideology is as if giving it power, right? Kind of what you were saying earlier, like this can't be the end all be all or the full representation. And when you subscribe to that, you know what I mean, you kind of like become defeated in a way, but only when you come out amongst your people. You know what I'm saying? And you see it and you say, that's the internet. That's some online shit, but it still is a reflection. It still has an impact.
And it's also, even with your gold teeth, bro, and you being black and me being black, two black men, the image of this is just as a part of the story as what we're talking about. And our images, the images of black people and black women that are being perpetuated into the world is that thing that I'm talking about. I know that you don't mean a motherfucker no harm, that the average black person that I encounter isn't a fucking threat, right? But your mom and pops, you said your mom and pops together when you was raised, growing up?
No, they weren't, but.
Oh, okay, my bad.
You good.
So these stories that they're perpetuating and the images that the average person is seeing is actually creating the value system that gives motherfuckers either the cognitive dissonance or whatever the term is to make us think we're less than what we are as a collective group of people. Even ourselves, like when you were saying, when you scrolling up and you see an ass and it means nothing now, like you don't mean that about the woman in your life or whatever, but that woman that you saw who you don't, it's just nothing. We just scroll through. So the images that we're perpetuating, that is being perpetuated, is what I'm talking about. When that dude got shot, I can't remember his name, with his son in the back, with his girl. They didn't see, they didn't see that man. They didn't see that man as a husband, as a father. They saw him as a man. You've got to perpetuate images. You got to create and produce and perpetuate images of fatherhood in order for a group of people to be perceived as fathers. You can be operating in that capacity in your life and in your community, but a father has much more value in a mental state, at least from what I'm thinking, as just like a single dude. It's just the values that they have. So if they saw him, oh, he's with his family, they just saw that's a nigga with his baby mama. Or, you know, they don't see a unit. But we're not creating images that tell the story of units, of family, of fatherhood. And so even though I recognize, I don't know no ain't shit daddies, bro. I don't know one dad who ain't shit. The average thought is that brothers don't take care of their kids.
That's fucked up.
Matter of fact, every brother I know is fighting to get more time with his kids. But that ain't the story. You know what I'm saying? So
you're right, King.
I'm just talking, man.
No, you're right. You're right. You know, it's not a accurate reflection or depiction. That's one of the reasons why I felt compelled to say, you know what, let me find ways in which I can stop complaining and voicing my frustration.
Yeah.
People treat me like I'm Sharif. You know what, let me go out here and create the alternative and the solution.
Yeah.
Because I don't like it, you know what I mean, whether it's interracial in the Hollywood sector, right? So many agendas, you know, constantly, even within the rap music. You know what I mean? We a little older, so we might not relate to the content, but there are a generation of children that do.
Yeah.
That subscribe to this shit, not realizing like, yo, this shit is entertainment. You know what I'm saying? You got actors who play roles in movies. You don't expect this motherfucker to be that when he leave out the theater. So we just trying to create those platforms to kind of change the narratives. Because in my heart and when I was raised on, the people that were in my life, they know that's not the scale that we trying to aspire to. Right now, we trying to establish some type of order.
Yeah.
Because that's what we lack right now, leadership. You know what I mean? And those elders within the community that people could rely on and not feel like, who was this talking about? You know what I mean? It's a certain type of respect that the youth had with the elders, so we got to get more active in creating that bridge, and I think that's where my generation comes into play, the 90s kids. Like, we have the ability to know what it was like before the internet and still have the age and youth to still connect with some of the younger motherfuckers, so it's like, how can we bring together, help them understand that what you're doing might not be the best way to depict our people, because again, where we coming from, let's be real, man, somebody coming to you with $1 million, back in 93, 94, and they say, yo, I like that song you did. Do that right there.
I'm taking it.
Fuckers gonna do that same exact song
Yeah.
that got them millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Same shit with Future and all the artists that may have, you know, drugs in the content of their music and shit. Like, this is what got them out the hood.
Yeah.
Not the shit that J. Cole and the Kendricks and it's a dirty gang we in, man, but we talked about it for decades. You know what I mean? Our elders, Dick Gregory, rest in peace. So many of our elders gone, man. They told us, they warned us.
Yeah.
Now it's on us to step up and be the void, or fill the void that's needed, because these children are like essentially raising themselves to a degree, and parents have now been distracted by this new world that we in now, whether it's technology, whether you're consumed with work. So we got to get back to building foundation, man. You know what I'm saying? That foundational black household. Get back to building that structure and going off of that and remaining as a unit. Because there's too many families that's in the house, but yet they so distant.
Yeah.
Because of the shit that we got in our world and our everyday life, and I see it. You know what I mean? By me not having any children and just seeing the differences on the everyday life, man, it's hard. We got peers, friends that we try to keep motivated, going through their hardship, and it's been some tough years, man. These past couple of years, for real.
And speaking of foundations, man, I feel like your Forgotten Kingz 2.0 is a really solid foundation, man. Mm-hmm. I like what you're doing on it, man, in the various ways you're expressing yourself on there, and also providing, you know, insight into the community and stuff like that. And what's next for you on, as far as, you know, I know there's something else you're working on the back end you can't really go into, but are you looking to do more on the Conversations with Rip piece, or?
Yeah. You know, it's gonna be a lot more things I want to work on. Movies, comedy, just basically honing in on the skill sets that I have, music, things of that nature.
You produce or write?
I write.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
You rap?
A little bit. Sing? You know what I'm saying? I can harmonize some shit.
Okay,
you know
I got you.
I'm an artiste. You know what I'm saying? It's just a lot of that shit kind of fell to the back burner once this thing started taking off. But it's definitely the foundation, the building block of what's to come moving forward. You know what I mean? So, but the interviews, and I kind of just fell back. So many platforms coming out, interviews. Every time I'm on YouTube, it's interview. So it's like, you know, I'm kind of one of them people where like, if everyone's going right, I'm gonna go ahead and make this left. You know what I mean? So that's why I said me. I hate to just be like with everybody else. I gotta do something that carves out my lane and makes it authentic to me and what the hell I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? So interviews, definitely. Conversations like this, hell yeah, because it's needed. It's needed, you know.
What kind of advice would you give? I was gonna say a content creator, but I'm a content creator. So I'm gonna say, what kind of advice would you give me? Just based on like some of the stuff that you've seen, you know, so far. Yeah, what kind of advice would you give?
I would guess, you know, mind, body, and soul, man, and just making sure that everything is in order. You know, take care of yourself, taking care of your health. All of those things are important and very beneficial when it comes to progression and success of you on your journey. If you don't have none of those things in order, man, you know, you won't be able to reach that level of success that you want. You know what I mean? Don't get too caught up in the benefits that come from it, and more so what it is that you were sent here to do, like you said, that why. You know, this life can be very challenging because the things around you can't control. The people around you can't control. You try your best. You know what I mean? And when you realize there's nothing, you feel like you're hopeless. You know, so never get down on yourself. You know what I mean? Take care of yourself. Shit, and smile, motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, it's life hard as it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Enjoy it, man. It's easy to hate. It's easy to spread that negative shit. You know what I mean? But what we doing right now, the world needs more of it. You know what I'm saying? Our people need more of it because we hurting.
Yeah.
And the shit that used to get us over the hump 10, 20 years ago, it ain't working no more. Man, motherfuckers is pawning off their soul, whatever they got for a little bit of peace. Yeah. Ain't nothing. So you just got to make sure you take care of yourself, take care of your mental, take care of your family, man. And shit, get active, because we don't know how much time we got left. Don't play with it. Get to it, man.